technical standpoint in terms of clicking around the system we'll have.
Okay.
So here's my plan. Today, we're going to cover users and groups. Tomorrow, we'll touch base about what time we want to meet, but we'll talk about products. And so I'll really get into, okay, what kind of products they're going to be using, and I'll really try to make sure that we cover what you need. Then we'll do templates on the third day, and then on the fourth day or Friday, we're going to go over just kind of whatever you need. And I've got some things in mind already that I want to cover with you on that fourth day, but as we have conversations throughout the week, we can say, okay, we want to amend this, or we want to add this to the Friday session if we don't end up having time to cover it that day, or maybe it's kind of a better thing to be covered sort of in the miscellaneous part of the training. And like I said, we have, we'll block out 2 hours for each day, but since it's just me and you, we can just talk at the end of this call and figure out what works in terms of timing for the rest of the week. And so we can get together on that. And so for today, I'm just going to open this up, and I do have exercises that are available for you to practice this stuff at the end of each call before we meet again the next day. And some of the stuff you may feel like, yep, I definitely need to practice that. And some of it may be stuff that you've already had the opportunity to do, in which case I'm just giving, I guess what I'm saying is I'm going to give you some flexibility on the homework part of the class. Whatever you feel like will be relevant for you to practice, please do. If you don't feel like it's relevant or you already know how to do it, you don't have to like complete an assignment. I'm not going to grade things for you or anything like that. It's really just for you. So today, just kind of as an idea of what we're going to be doing, and ignore the timing on this because this was, we started at 9:30, obviously. So I'm going to show you a portal, an example of a portal and a couple of different product types. I am going to at least introduce you to the different product types today. Then I'm going to show you how to set up yourself and any executive level users. And so by that, I mean you as the admin user or the backend user, so that you'll know where you can go edit your information. Then we'll go in and create a couple of groups and a couple of users kind of based on your workflow. We'll talk about what the approval process is and whether or not you're going to be using it. And then we'll just kind of log in as one of those users, even though we won't have any products yet. We're still going to at least test that out. So I've got this squared away. So now I'm going to log into that test site that I was telling you about. And that's called Time to Travel. So the different product types is really my goal here. But obviously, you guys are live. Is that correct, Danielle?
Not really. We haven't really rolled it out. We have some test users that tried it, but yeah, no one really knows about it. So.
Okay, got it. So when is your live date? And I know that probably the FESI switchover is possibly changing that, but what was your idea about when you want to go live?
I have no idea. We wanted to do it like in July, then August, then September, and then I was out for 2 weeks because I was getting married, and then so all of a sudden it was like paused, yeah. And then now I'm back, and now it's like back to let's start talking about it again. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
you're just getting your brain back in the space of the work that needs to happen before you go live, and so you're kind of probably this training hopefully will help boost some of that along.
Right.
Because we'll be talking about it at least on a daily basis for at least an hour. So that's always helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good for me to know then. So this is a live site in theory. You know, it's a training version of a live site. So it's fully built out and it's fully customized and designed. And so your portal might, I'm assuming, is going to look totally different than this. And it's going to be with your own design that's on it. So don't focus so much about that, but just the functionality of how we have things kind of laid out. So in this particular portal, we have a home page. This is a home page. And it's almost as if this company, this hypothetical company, Time to Travel, imagine that Time to Travel is like this is like their intranet site. So this is where all the, people come at that company. So you can use Marcom that way. And then there's a catalog within this. And so this would be, the catalog page, and I'll take you there in just a moment. But on this main home page, there's opportunity to put things like corporate sponsors, company news, frequently asked questions, and you can also give reporting access to some of the users, your front-end users. And so we found sometimes that there's people like in a district manager role or a regional manager role that might want to be able to pull reports on like who's using the portal and what assets they're getting. And so we can, of course, you're going to have access to reports, as well as, what was the other person's name? You said it was?
Roxanne. Roxanne will want to pull the reports.
Yeah, and so don't think that this is the place where you guys are going to get reports. You'll get reports on the back end of the tool, but it is actually the same reporting. So if you ever had a reason, Danielle, to give reporting access to one of your front end users, you could just kind of make that available only to like a select group of people. If you find yourself having to pull reports to people all the time, and just be like, look, I'm going to give you access, and you can pull them yourself. Say it nicely, whatever you need to do. And then at the bottom of this is some featured products. And so you can only have featured products if you're using a home page. If your users are going straight to a catalog page, they wouldn't be able to see these. But certainly featured products can have a great benefit of being able to, you can have like seasonal products, like the holidays are coming up. So maybe you feature a Halloween thing, or maybe you feature a Christmas thing, or it could be something that you're trying to get rid of, or maybe it's hey, here's the Q1 sales demo material. So you can feature anything that you want on the front page. And so these are all just examples of featured products. So that's just kind of like a walkthrough of what this front page looks like. And I know that yours will be different. And now I'm going to jump right into the catalog and show you the catalog. And talk to me about your work. Like, what is your business, and who are your front end users going to be?
Well, we're at Symantec, and I'm the print center here. And so it's pretty much their collateral for marketing and education and, just the normal business type material.
Okay, so Symantec is going to be, as you said, it's educational. It's an educational company?
No, it's a security company.
Security company.
Virus. Yeah, Norton Virus. We just merged with Bluecoat and LifeLock. It's internet security company.
Okay. So who are the front end users going to be that are logging in to like order the materials for this portal?
All the Symantec employees. Okay,
and so the kinds of things that they're going to be getting are just really anything they need for marketing, anything that they need for
trade shows, for education, for anything that a corporation needs printed, meetings, whatever the collateral may be.
You name it, they probably will need it.
Right.
Okay. Good to know. So then, when I talk about that front end user, I'm talking about a Symantec employee that's logging in to get any of the materials. So here's a catalog page, and so some people skip the home page entirely and have the users come straight to a catalog. Do you happen to know which one of those you guys are going to be using?
I believe we go straight to the catalog.
Okay, got it. This is a page then that would just kind of be an example of that. And so you can attach the different icons to the individual folders. And so you're establishing in the catalog page really just a folder structure, and then however you want your products to live inside of that folder structure. And let's say, for example, we have a business card. You might think, well, that business card technically would be like a brand identity item and a marketing item and a brochures and a sales item, which I get. You can put that business card in all the folders if you want to. So there's no limitation on that. And you can also make it really easy for them to search, so they don't have to know what folder it is or have to guess. Like, they could just type in, like, as soon as I even put in the B, I've got like a suggested search activated here that, here's the QR Waves business card. Here's the, the business card with text profile attributes. So there's different ones that are coming up here. So that's just one of the ways you can make it easy for your users to find things, is through search bar. And so that's just kind of an idea of what a catalog page can look like and how it can function. And I can click inside one of these folders, and I can see a full list of products that's in that folder. And then I can use this Chrome trail to kind of like go back to the main catalog page if what I'm looking for isn't there. And you can kind of do the same thing with marketing. So it's just an example of what that would look like. But my question to you is, I'm going to kind of step through the different product types, and then I'll just kind of be asking you, like, first of all, do you know what a static product is? Are you familiar with that terminology?
What the what product?
What a static product type?
No, not really.
Okay. So a static product type, an example of that would be something that doesn't offer any customization to the Symantec employee at all. So something as simple as like a logo where, okay, here's the Symantec logo in like a high-res format, and you can download it, but that's all, you're not letting them put their name on it, for example, like you would on a business card. This is the file, this is how we at the marketing team have decided to deliver it to you, and that's it. So it's just something that's not customizable, it's not editable at all. So do you think that you'll be having some static product types in your portal?
Because we already have, the Symantec uses their own intranet site. So they have all this branding stuff, all this stuff on their own intranet. And
okay.
So, but ours is serving as is just a web-based job submission for their print requests. So we're not going to be providing them with the logos. They'll get that from their own intranet, Symantec site. But so right now we currently have 2 job submission types, or 3. One is, where it builds the book for them to upload their files and build a book. And the other one is to upload several files to be able to for me to print those and them to tell me what they want printed. And then the third one is for oversize. And then there's a graphic design one, but they're not downloading, we're not providing them any material for them to use for themselves. It's just strictly for printing, for them to send jobs to me to print. Eventually, once I learn how to do more of this, I will, because there is a whole catalog of items that they do have that they update once a year. I plan on putting that material in its own little catalog or whatever, like I see here, like the brochures or whatever, so they can easily submit that, because that's what Betsy was saying, that they could take something like certain documents that the sales and marketing uses, and so they could just easily grab that and then submit, I need 10 of these or whatever. So that's the only thing, but that's going to be in the future once I'm more comfortable with using this tool and once I could start, uploading those myself. But as of right now, we're not going to be providing them the logo or anything for them to just take off our site and then, because they already have their own intranet site.
I gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm still going to step through. I'll step through a few basic products just to show you. Well, A, it'll show you the workflow of the checkout process anyways. But B, I know that in the future, if you want to do that, I'll show you exactly how easy it is to do some of that stuff. So when that need does come up down the line, you'll kind of have some basic knowledge on how to do it. So the example that I was kind of referencing would be, I'll just go with something simple like letterheads. So what we'll do tomorrow is I'll show you how to build this letterhead. So for today, I'm just going to show you, like, this is where they would get it, and this is how this system is meant to hold this product. And so you can see that on the back end, you'll build this to have the title of corporate letterhead or whatever the title of the product is going to be. And then you can provide a description or instructions. And this will be the same for the job submission tool as well. So the same idea will apply, that you'll come up with whatever you want these 2 sections to say. And then in this case, we've given them the opportunity to download this letterhead, or they can print this letterhead and add it to their cart. So they've got the ability to print it, from home, or they can get it professionally printed, which is just, it's just an example, right? I mean, you guys might do things differently. So then you've got like a sliding pricing grid down here to say, well, how many do they want and how much is the cost going to be for each, additional ream of paper. And then you also have the ability here to have separate SKUs. And so this is kind of a unique feature that Marcom has, where you can build one product type. The product type is the corporate letterhead. So you don't have to go in and build 2 separate if you want to represent a San Diego version of the letterhead and a Chicago version of the letterhead. So in this case, the SKU is like just sort of a different version of that. So you build one product type and establish two different SKUs. And certainly the SKUs are going to be important to you as well, because you guys are the in-house printer. And so you're going to be printing that stuff. And so that SKU helps you keep track of that job, you know, as it moves through your print floor. And so in this case, the SKU for the, you know, whatever people want to name it, we usually recommend that people come up with something that kind of seems logical, like LTHD for letterhead, SD for San Diego, and then the zip code for that office. And then you can see the Chicago is the Chicago zip code. So just some thoughts on that. The SKUs will be important to our understanding of how things work in Marcom, because, you know, we want you to be able to have that SKU and match that to your job ticket. Or if you guys, I don't know if it's called a hot folder where you work, but you want to be able to look at those things and kind of match them up. So that's what's represented here. And you can see we're not asking for any input from the user in terms of what their name is, or do they want to create their own for the Florida office. It's, these are the two we have, pick one, and then how many do you want? So I'm just going to add this to my cart, and that's just a simple example of a static product type. And those are probably the easiest thing in our system to build. I mean, you could build a static product type in, like, you know, probably a matter of 10 minutes, and then using something called bulk operations, you could build like 50 in an hour. I mean, it's pretty quick to use that particular product type. So I'm going to go back to the catalog now. So do you feel like you understand what a static product type is? And I know that you're already thinking of down the line what you might have that's static.
Right. Yeah.
So the next product type that we'll talk to you about, and then you can let me know if you'll use it or not, is called a pick product. And I think you're probably familiar with the terminology pick, but all it means is that it's a static product type that is held in inventory in your warehouse. So, you know, a simple example might be brochures, where with Symantec, they always want that same brochure. They know that they use it all the time. So they have you guys do a run of like 10,000 of those brochures, and then you stock it on a shelf for them. And then it's your job when it gets ordered. You're not printing it on demand at that point, walking back to the warehouse, and you're pulling it off the shelf and packaging it that way. So do you think you'll be using that?
We don't use that. No, it's very tiny in here.
Okay, got it. So you're not holding inventory then? Okay. The only difference with that one is, I'll at least just kind of give you an eyeball at it. The only difference with that one is that the user, so if this ever comes up down the line, which it probably won't, because if you don't have the space for inventory, then it's probably not going to come up. But that this number would reduce when they add it to the cart. So if they added one set of these, then the user can kind of keep track of the inventory, so they have an idea of what's available. But again, you're still seeing, like, consistently throughout our system, the title of the product, a description, instructions. So all of that is going to feel, you know, very familiar on every product type that we cover. So that's a pick product. The next one that I want to talk to you about is static with attributes. And so with the static with attributes, you're still hearing the word static, so you're thinking, okay, it's not customized or editable, but there's attributes. And what the attributes are is, for example, like a t-shirt. So Danielle, if I were to order or ask you to get a t-shirt, and you're in here to pick one, you're probably going to get some choices about like the size or the color of the t-shirt. And so that's what we mean by attributes, is what size t-shirt do you want, what color. But do you still hear the word static? And so then you know, well, it's not like I get to pick what design of t-shirt I want. I can only pick the size and pick the color. So let's take a look. And do you guys think you'll be using static with attributes?
No.
Okay, got it. And that's one of our lesser used product types, because usually people have some other vendor that they are already doing their apparel with, or they kind of solve for this in some other way. But again, just to show you the consistency, that here's the title, the description, and instructions. But in this case, you can set up a form. And we've also seen this get used as like some of the marketing tchotchkes that people have, like keychains or mugs or journals and all of those kind of things, where we need some input about what size or shape or fabric type. I mean, there can be this prompt could be either of these prompts could be really any word that you ever wanted to use. So it's just a way to get the user to fill out a form, essentially. The next one, though, that I think that there's potential for you guys to use is what's called a version product type. And with a version product type, the idea is that we are asking them for their information. And we want to know what they want for their name, for their email, for their phone number. So an example of that would be a business card. And I think it sounded like you weren't able to use our system for your basic business card. Is that correct?
We used it, but we have, because Symantec has a whole new brand, and we have a new marketing branding person, and so she just wasn't happy with the output, the quality of it that our machines here produce. So they decided to keep their original business card. It's, you know, we don't have the capability of printing offset printing in-house. So
got it.
Yeah, I first saw that a long time ago, but they just really tried to bring the business in here. But yeah, it didn't work.
Okay, got it. Well, we'll expand that thought process though of, okay, well, so then not just a business card, but really any print piece that we want the user to be able to put their name or information on. And so the idea is that's called a version product. And the idea is that with the version product, you'll need a template. And so that's what we'll talk about together on Thursday. And so, you know, you come up with these field names, whatever they may be, and then those get tagged up on the back end in Fusion Pro, which is the software that lives on your desktop. And what happens when you're done in Fusion Pro is you upload those files into Marcom. The two of those things create this business card. So you're still seeing the consistency with like the title of the product, the description, and instructions, but now I can come in, and I just happen to have some saved jobs. So I'm just gonna like pluck from one of these. I'll go with Charlotte. And so I can see here that like her name's not properly cased. And so in theory, I don't know that we did on this one or not, you're gonna build some rules to always proper case certain things, or have the phone be formatted a certain way that Symantec likes dots instead of parentheses. You know, those simple things that you can format in Fusion Pro. And I don't think we did build the rule properly on this one, so, but you and I will Thursday build it properly. You can see the emails all uppercase. I've built a rule to force that to go lower. And so what's happening here is we're asking them, we tell them to refresh the preview, but you can change the name of this button. You can also add some text here to say like, hey, this is the button we're talking about. And then we'll update that. And that's going to generate the actual proof that in theory, I know that you guys aren't doing this right now, but just so you understand this from a back-end standpoint, that this is going to generate the proof that would land in the distribution tiles. And so you would have access to get this proof and print it on the back end. And so here's the business card. There's some other things. You can see the dots coming through from the phone format. You can see the email's been forced to go lowercase. So that's the version product type, and certainly one of the most popular product types in Marcom. And then you can also add this user agreement text, and you can do this to any of your job direct products as well, where you say, look, I need you to take some accountability for what you're ordering. So, you know, you can have like a little body copy here that says you put in accurate information and we're printing this, and you know what, if it's wrong, then we're taking it out of your paycheck, or, you know, whatever you want it to say. And then you can come up with a copy that you want to have appear beside the checkbox, and then we can add that to the cart. So that's a versions product type. And then we have one more that I cover in a standard course of training as well. So I already know that I'm going to eliminate a couple for us tomorrow. But the next one is a variable product type. And what I mean by variable is that it's an item that is going to have a unique component on each and every one of them. An example would be something that you receive in the mail that has like your name and address on it. So let's imagine that Symantec was sending out a blast mailer to everybody in a 10-mile radius, which I don't know that they would do that. It might not make any sense for their business, but you know, then it would land at everybody's mailbox with a different name and address on each one of them. So you can see here, though, the deal with that is that we would ask that user or that employee at Symantec to upload their own cleansed mail list. And so typically, people don't trust their employees to upload a mail list. So do you think you ever have a vision of offering variable product types or mailers at all?
If they see that that is something that could be available, then yeah, I think that this would be of some interest.
Yeah, okay. So the idea on this first section is, so it's just telling them, again, it's a postcard, and here's the instructions, is that they have to upload a mail list. And so I've got one that's already here. I'll try to use this one. But otherwise, they could just, you know, choose a comma delimited, Excel, and you can control what choices are available to them. So if you don't want to offer, because maybe they don't understand what comma delimited even means, you can just offer Excel as the only option here, and they would have to upload an Excel file.
Okay.
And then you're asking them to click continue, so that I've got a mail list already existing, but they would just browse and attach their mail list. And then what I'm doing here on the second screen is just seeing the template field names and just making sure that like some sample data came over for that. So in that mail list that I just uploaded, it's just playing the matching game to say, okay, yep, you know, I see an example. Everything is kind of mapping over here properly. The other cool thing that's happening here is we know that, you know, in our data, our mail list that we have, we found out, you know, that the location, we attached a location to each person that's receiving this. So that location of the Maldives is going to drive the picture that shows here and then drive the picture that shows here. And so we can do that on the back end through our template software. So I'll click continue, and you can see the progress bars here to kind of let people know where they are in the process. And then here's the information where I can put, and I'll just pop in your name. Again, we should have some rules on the back end that proper case is your name and puts in the phone formatting. And then whenever this, you know, contest expires, and then we can look at a couple records. I've got 240, so I'm going to look at record number 179. I don't know why, but what it does is it allows the users to look at up to 5. So if the mail list is 10,000 people long, we're not going to let them look at all 10,000. You're going to get that 10,000, you know, as part of the job on the blue tiles. So you'll have that file attached so that when you guys need to print it, it's all there. So we let them look it up to 5 just so they can see an output of 5 to sort of satisfy the end user. And so here's the Maldives for Eric. His name is on the front, and then on the back of it, you know, we've got your information here, your phone number, your email, but then here's Eric's information. And this picture is also being driven off the Maldives. Here's where that agent code and expiration date was inserted. And then on this one for Benny, it looks like his location wasn't the Maldives, his location was New York City. And so we have pictures driving off of that location to show these 2 images. Same thing here though, except for now we have Benny's information here. And then here's Amy. It looks like Amy's photo. And then Elizabeth looks like London. So just kind of giving you some examples of what's possible with our software. And then London.
So what if the customer, obviously they're going to have their own artwork that they're going to want to input or have on here. How do I, so, and obviously this gets placed in all the same places, like where this.
Yeah. So what you'll do is in Fusion Pro, you'll create something called a graphic switch rule that says if the text value of the location that they pick is London, which in this case they didn't pick it, it was like matched to the data file or the mail list that was uploaded, then you're going to build a rule that says, and I'm going to show you how to do this too, but you'll build a rule that says if they pick London, I want to show this picture up here and this picture here. But you can leave these spaces open so that they can upload their own images. But obviously, there's a little bit of risk involved if they're going to upload a picture of their backyard. But you can leave this so that it's either locked or there's just a handful of choices, or they can upload their own into this spot and that spot if you want to.
Okay.
So it's food for thought. There's a lot of cool things that you can do with this stuff, but you do have to assess what's realistically that Symantec would be comfortable with.
Right.
So then once the you or the agent is like okay with what they just previewed, then the postage is added, so you can set the postage rate and what you're going to charge for each item, and then the printing of each item, you can set those two things up separately. And then again, that user agreement text, and then add to cart.
Okay.
So that's just kind of the workflow and some examples of product types. And let's see if we have a job direct in here that I can show you also. So here's an example of a submit your own booklet, and I'm just kind of playing in here. And so we've got this responsive design. I don't think I have a PDF that's on my desktop that I can load in. But here's where you could go in and save, you can save your own settings, but here's where you're going to go in and upload your PDF. Is it 15 pages? Is it 20 pages? Is it 2 pages? And then you can come here and set up all these different printing options. Simplex, black and white, media size, the media category. So all of those are options that are available here with different choices. And you can see that the design is kind of responsive. So, what do they want? What's available to them here? Do they need to add or remove any pages? Tabs, so punching and binding, all of that is available through this Jobs Direct tool. And I'll talk about this for us as well. So that's the overflow of how things work in Marcom. And so now what I'd like to do is get in and talk about how to add users and groups, because that's really our focus for today. But we're going to use this kind of outline of time to travel that we reviewed today, especially when we start talking about how to build products tomorrow. Okay. But before I leave time to travel, and not that I can't come back here, but do you have any questions about just kind of that overview we did?
No, not yet.
Okay, so the portal is nothing without users and without groups. And so I am going to show you, have you ever logged into Marcom?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. And I'll build a training portal for you if you don't already have one after our call today. That way you have like a sandbox that you can kind of go and play in and break stuff, and it's not going to impact anything for your live portal. So okay. I'm just going to log in as if I am an admin level user like you are. You can always reset your password if you don't remember what it is, and it will just bump to your email. And then I don't want to be in this pumpkin spice travel. I come up with all kinds of crazy names for my portals. So I'm going to do something called favorite my portal. And what that allows me to do is keep from accidentally going to the wrong portal, because I have so many. And I know for sure after our call today, you're at least, I haven't looked at your stuff yet, but I know that you're at least going to have your training portal and your live portal. And so what you may consider doing for this week is favoriting your training portal so that you don't accidentally go into your live portal and do stuff that you don't intend to do. Okay. And so I've created one for us this week. So this is my favorite portal now. So now every time I log in, it will take me straight to this portal. Now, if you want to navigate between your real portal and your training portal, you can always just drop down here and just bop in and out of any of the portals that you want to work in. And so here in this interface, I'm going to go over these different tiles with you tomorrow. Obviously, we're going to be working in the product setup tile, but I'll talk to you later this week about what's in this tile. So all this stuff I'll cover with you. But today, I just want to focus in on the users and groups. And so in this tile is the ability to set up a couple different things. And all a group is really just, it's going to be the front end users, and you're just kind of thinking of like any settings that would apply to the front end users that you want to be able to kind of group together. So the point of creating a group is just to set an umbrella of information. And that way, when you create the individual Symantec employee users, you can just pick a group that they fall into, and then whatever that group is that they fall into, that's the settings that that user will automatically adopt. So do you have any idea how your groups are going to work, or do you need some ideas, or what do you know about groups so far?
I probably need ideas because every user is pretty much going to be the same, except for, I mean, maybe there'll be groups with a little bit more of an admin right, but other than that, it's pretty much
most people are going to function the same.
Right.
Okay, perfect. That makes life even easier. I'll tell you some examples of why I've seen groups get used different ways, knowing that you may not have to do any of this. But I do see some companies that set up groups based off of approval. So perhaps they decide, like a bank, for example, like you and I both know how banks work. Like at least we have an idea of what the different job roles are. But like a teller, for example, might be a user that's in a group of people that needs approval, so that if that bank teller were to order business cards for themselves, that it would have to be approved by the branch manager. In that case, we need a group that's for all the tellers, and then we need a separate group that's for all the branch managers, because one is going to be a group of people that need approval, and the other is going to be a group of people that does approval. So I've seen it done that way. Are you guys going to be incorporating any approval processes?
No, I mean, because we're not charging back. We're absorbing all costs. So there's nothing that needs to have like a higher person that approves something.
Okay.
The only thing is education material, but anyone that has the education material that needs to be printed wouldn't have access to it unless it was from the educator. You know, that's like the most top of the line confidential stuff that we print.
Yeah.
Except for meeting stuff. But I mean, I don't see use for that right now, but I could certainly find use for it maybe in the future. You know,
and I'll say this, if you don't have use for it, there's no need to think of use for it either. Because it does complicate things. I'll just be honest with you. I mean, it's not like it's so complicated. I mean, but if it's not kind of smacking you in the face, like, yeah, we have to have these certain things, then I wouldn't concern myself with that. The other cool thing that you could do with those certain materials is you could make those certain materials only visible to the people that can even use them. Do you know what I'm saying? So you might create a group for the educators, and they have their own group, and maybe they're the only ones based off of their group that can see these 5 products that, you know, you want to make available to them. So the other cool thing about groups is that you can filter what products what groups see. So if you wanted one group to be like, you know, honestly, we could just call it your main group of users, and then have a separate group for the educational users. Then the educational users can still see everything that the main group sees, but then they also have this extra 5 products that's visible only to them. So we can set that up that way.
I'm not even going to be holding any of the education materials. That's up to them to send it to me. So, yeah, I probably won't use that feature.
Okay. So then I think you're just going to have one main group of users, and they're all going to have essentially the same settings. So what I'll do today on our call is just build a main group for us, and then we'll just assume at this point in the process that most of your users are going to be in that main group.
Okay.
So I'm going to click on groups. And one of the exercises that I'll give you for today is a chance to create your own groups and own users in your training portal. So if you since this part of it is just like you're watching, then you can go in after this training and do it yourself if you want to try it out. So then I'm going to click add a group. And I'm just going to give this group a name. And so we have just talked about the main group. And so that's what I'm going to kind of stick with. There's no need to provide a description. The description would maybe just be for you. And you said that Roxanne might eventually be in here mixing around with some of this stuff. So she would see this and you would see this, but nobody else would see this description. And right now, since we don't have any products at all built yet, there's nothing we can control at this level of what products can and can't be seen. And in the software consistently, you'll see this interface that, and we call these all pivots. So we'll say like, oh, go to the general pivot, go to the billing pivot. But anytime that you have pivots like this in the software, you need to save on the first one in order to go to the next one. But then after the first one, they auto save. So you'll see here, like if I try to go to the general pivot without saving, it'll just give me a little message that says you have unsaved information.
Okay.
So it will remind you. And so there's a couple ways to go through these pivots. I can just click straight on it and take myself there that way. But I could also use this drop down and go that way as well. So it's just a redundancy, but it's just whatever your preference is. So now I'm going to go to the general. And this is just, hey, Danielle, what general information do you want to establish for this main group? The text looks like it's locked, but you just have to click on it to be able to edit it. And then you can see here that we want to know, like, where does this group launch? And so remember how I talked about the home page? And I just jumped into time to travel here, or the catalog page. And so some groups sometimes we'll see people that want to have the group have a home page and have access to that. In this case, we just have the catalog page. So I'm going to say catalog because I think most of your people are going to go straight to the catalog. Then we have this all corporate addresses visible. You can establish different addresses for people in the system. We'll talk about that on a separate call, but it's, do you want this group to be able to see all the addresses for the company or not? That's what you're controlling here, and I don't think you would have a need for that based on how you're using the system.
I think that actually because a lot of the stuff gets shipped out, and for them to be able to easily access an address of somewhere worldwide that it's going to, Symantec worldwide, that I do everything worldwide in here.
Okay.
So if they had all the addresses available in a click of a button, that would be
amazing.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Okay, good. Then we'll make sure that we activate that. So what we would do at the group level is we would leave this set to checked, and then I'll show you separately where to go in and add all those addresses so that they can be incorporated. Featured products displayed, grid or carousel. This is if you're using a home page and using those featured products, which it sounds like you're not. And then do you want the group to be able to save their shopping cart? And do you want the group to get login links in their email? And all that is if you get an email from Marcom, there'll be a link at the bottom of it that's like, hey, do you need to log into the portal? Here's the link, and it'll take you to the website. Sometimes people want to turn these two features off, but I usually don't see people have too much concern about these two. And then we're going to, in your case, go ahead.
I'll probably decide on that as time goes by to know what's annoying and what's not.
Yeah, I mean, the saving of a shopping cart, I've never heard, have a lot of reasons why people wouldn't allow their users to save a shopping cart because that's just convenient. But the login link in email, sometimes I've seen that need to be deactivated if we're using single sign-on, which I don't know if you guys are using single sign-on or not.
I think they're talking about doing a single sign-on. So
okay, so if they do that, then it would be our job to come in and unclick this for you so that they're not, because it would be weird if they were using single sign-on to get into Marcom and then they got an email. And in the email, it was a link to the website, but they don't even know their password for the website necessarily because they are so used to single sign-oning in. So that's why it usually gets turned off for those.
Okay.
And then in your case, we're going to enable all addresses. So that's what you see as the default in the system. So you would just leave this set. You could change it so that they could only see corporate or only see my addresses. And what a my address is an example of somebody that works from home. You can limit it so that they could only see their address. But I usually find that to be kind of silly because they can just input their address and save it. They don't need it to be available to them at a corporate level because you can just leave that as an open field that they can edit if they want to. So notice here, I'm not going to click save. I'm just going to go to the next pivot until it auto saves. And I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
Oh no, the last one, the corporate addresses and all the addresses make sense.
Okay, good. So this is what you want the billing experience to look like for this group. And since you guys are absorbing all of the billing, do you even want there to be like a billing link when they check out, or do you kind of want to eliminate that entire part of the process?
I believe we want to eliminate that, but I'd have to check with Roxanne what she wants.
Well, so in this case, what we do is we just set it all set to purchase order payment method. And so then obviously we just never bill or invoice anybody for it. But, you know, there can be some benefits to choosing to and it would be weird if you showed pricing, because then they might think that they're supposed to pay for it. Mm-hmm. But you could still bill it, use the billing page to establish like cost centers. And so that might make sense where you say that it's free, but we at least need to know what cost center, or in my terminology for cost center, is like what budget it's coming out of. And so you can set the different cost centers here. So are you guys using cost centers, do you think?
We do have to have them use a cost center number for shipping. So, and that is, and we have to use, they have to use a cost center number because it shows that they're a Symantec employee. So it's not anyone coming from anywhere using our site.
I see what you're saying. Okay. So my question to that is everybody's cost center the same? Or are you asking them to input a cost center and then there's a number that needs to match back to like they have to know what that number is and match it exactly for shipping to work? Is that kind of what you're thinking? Or billing to work?
I don't think we're going to provide a list of cost center numbers in the background. They just have to have a 13-digit cost center number. And yeah, I think all of that's already been established or built into the our site.
It probably has. And so here's where so this section of a group is where you're going to say, you know, you're not going to say all cost centers visible. You're not going to do anything with any of these three, because what we're going to establish for you is like, we're just going to put in an open field. And so in that open field, they have to put in their 13-digit number. And then what we're saying behind the scenes is that has to match exactly this, and then it will work. Yeah. So kind of hard to explain, but does that kind of make sense what I said there?
No, that's exactly. We don't want them to be able to select anyone's cost center number and then.
Yeah, because then they would get it right, and then they could, like, in theory, steal shipping from you, and that's not what you want. So so there is a way to validate that on the back end. And then do you want to show pricing? Probably not. So you'd probably turn off show pricing for that whole group, because they're not really needing to see the cost of things, because you're absorbing that cost anyway. So billing and shipping, you can see there's some overlaps, right? Because your cost centers are really going to also be to solve for shipping. So I'm going to move to that pivot next. Notice again, I didn't have to hit save. I just navigated over. And then, you know, do you want to use the existing address section for shipping? So you know how billing and shipping, it will allow you to like carry forward the same address. That can be done here. And then you can establish a default ship to address, which you probably don't have a default for anybody because everybody's different. Am I correct on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so you wouldn't use this. And then what shipping method do you want to offer? So there's a ton of choices. And I'm assuming that we're setting up shipping for you. Is that accurate? Or what do you know about shipping?
That would be great if that could be set up, because that's actually because we're eliminating the mailroom shipping form and using this tool that I need to tape onto the boxes to give to the mailroom for them to know where to ship things. And so it needs to kind of match as close to possible. And that's been my biggest concern with the first rollout of our 3 users is I don't know what shipment method or any of that. So if there's an option for us to input that information for them to select along with their email address so they know where the tracking gets tracked, then that would be ideal.
Okay, great. So here's what I'm going to do on that. I'm going to follow up. Are you speaking with Tammy like every week, or how often are you speaking with Tammy?
Well, I met her for the first time last week, and it was on Thursday during our first call, and she seemed a little bit like, hold on, you know, Betsy was doing way too much for you guys, and if you guys want to pay for this, then I'll go ahead and add that to your to what you guys want to order from us, or, so she seemed a little overwhelmed with how much Betsy was doing for us. And I understand Betsy was doing above and beyond, outside her scope. So,
which was nice. You benefited from that for a long time. So
we did. I know, but I totally understand. So it's like fair enough. I know where Tammy's coming from.
Yeah. So I hear you.
Yeah, I could, if you could show me how to set, make the default shipping methods, then I could just create that myself, using what we currently have. It's just a matter of knowing where to go and putting it. So.
Yeah, I'll show you that. We should have time on our call today, so I'll show you that today. As long as we have a little bit of extra time, I think I can do that. And so. Okay. Deciding how you want to set up shipping will be something to put some thought into. But yes, the system you can build the shipping into the system. And then here's where you could say the default method. And by method, I mean like FedEx ground or UPS ground. And you do have to pick between the three. You have to pick either a FedEx, a UPS, or a USPS. You can't have some of you like FedEx and some of you like UPS. You'll have to pick a carrier between the three. And then all the different methods that exist for a carrier, 2-day, same day, freight, air, all of those choices would be available. And so your job here, because we haven't set that up yet, so you're not seeing any options here, but your choice here would be, okay, well then what method do I want generally to be the default? And so you can even tie in your national account numbers with those carriers and really activate all that stuff as well. So what are you thinking that you might do in terms of which carrier and what default method?
Well, their form, they don't even have the carrier, but I know that they only have ground, next day, second day, Saturday in our office. Is there any way we could make it like that? Because it's up to the shipping department that I'm not sure. I think that UPS is their main carrier, but if it's international, obviously, I think it's DHL or something different. But what their form currently says is ground.
Okay.
If we could have those options.
With the ground like that, which we can definitely do. Just a couple more questions. With ground, would you want to with ground, you would want to calculate the weight of the box, the weight of the product inside the box, the shipping speed, all of that would be factored in. Am I correct on that? Or are you kind of wanting to charge a flat rate for ground to everybody?
No, see, because that's totally separate. It's strictly for shipping purposes. We're completely separate departments. And so the customer does get charged the shipping costs, but I don't know any of that because I'm the production center. So that's why the cost center is required because they get charged that. But all they do is check a box. I hand it off to the mailroom, and then they do the tracking info, and then they send all that to the customer directly. Okay.
So we definitely need to talk to Tammy, or possibly Betsy started thinking about this. Have you had this conversation? Did you have this conversation with Betsy before it got handed over to Tammy?
Not exactly about the shipping method, no.
And it's fine. This is nothing. What you're saying is nothing crazy. I just want to make sure that, because I don't want to overstep. Well, not overstep is probably not the right word, but I don't want to have a long and detailed, discovery on your shipping, because I'm not going to be the one supporting this account after the training this week. So I just want to make sure that I'm reaching out to Tammy. So I'm going to follow up on our call today with an email to Tammy. So when's the next time? Are you scheduled to speak with her again, this week or next week?
I believe on Thursday, but it's interfering with our call here, I think.
We can bump around too. We can change our call time on Thursday. You and I can. So,
okay.
I don't know what your day looks like, but
let me look at my calendar. I think we decided to do it the same time each day. Well, last week it was at 10, but I don't have a reoccurring call for it. So I'd have to follow up and see if that's a reoccurring.
Well, why don't we keep our time then for 9:30 and we'll let Tammy bend around us.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we'll have to change our call time, but for Thursday we'll probably try to stay on track. And I guess what I'm saying though, just to kind of wrap that up, is let's talk to Tammy about that. I'm going to reach out to her and let her know that you want to have that conversation with her, just so that you're not having to repeat yourself on what you want to do, and that way she can kind of be in the loop and make some recommendations. And then the other cool thing about that is that you and I will be talking on Friday. So if you have follow-up questions about it, I can try to answer some of those for you on Friday. But I am going to send Tammy an email and just say, hey, Tammy, make sure that when you talk to Danielle next that you ask her about shipping, because she wants to be able to incorporate the cost of that. So then this is where you could just insert a default method, like if there was one for that group, you would attach it here. And there would be choices available here, and I am going to show you how to activate those choices, but I definitely want you to talk to Tammy to determine what those choices should be, so that it's done properly. And then would you want to show the shipping method? And the answer is yes, definitely. And then would you ever want to hide it if the amount was 0? Well, I usually say, yeah, if shipping is ever free, which may not ever be in your case, then you want to hide it. If it's free, you can check that box. In the checkout workflow pivot, this is where you can skip certain steps in the checkout process. Like you can skip the shopping cart, you can skip shipping, billing, order confirmation. I wouldn't recommend that you guys skip anything, because based on how you're using your software, you're going to be using all the steps of the process. The only one that I do often recommend is just remain on add to cart, and the word or the verbiage here is kind of funny. But what it means to remain on add to cart is, notice here, if I order something, like let me just pop in here and order something, some letterhead quickly. And if I come in here to order this letterhead, I click add to cart. What it does in this case is it takes me to my cart, which between me and you, it's kind of annoying. Like I don't like to go to my cart right after I add something. I would rather stay on that letterhead page and then see like something that said your item has been added to the cart, and then I can kind of keep shopping. So
is there an option to, if it says continue shopping button, then that would be okay. But yeah, if it doesn't have like a continue shopping area, then that is kind of annoying.
I agree. So this is the box that I will encourage you to check, which leaves you on that letterhead. So what the words here, remain on add to cart, mean is that you will remain on the page that has the add to cart button, which you can't see that here, but that's what it would look like. So what would happen is you would hit add to cart, and then a little green bar would populate along the top that says your item has been added to your cart. And then you can continue shopping from there. So that's what this box means, and why I feel like it should be checked by default on every portal, but it's not for some reason. And then last but not least is administration. Oh, and we'll come to this pivot as well. But under administration, this is if you were activating approval rights, where you would set that up. But we're not going to. We don't need to set that up. So in this case, we can leave this as is, because there is no approval of any kind taking place in your portal. Now, if you do end up with a certain group of users, like higher level users, like district managers or regional managers, and you want them to be able to see reporting, you would make a special group for those people. And that group would have, down here, would have turned on all reporting and charts and all products. Now, this doesn't mean you as Danielle will already have access to those on the back end. So this is just for Symantec employee front-end users. If there's a select group that you want to give reporting access to, this is where you would do that.
Okay.
And then digital delivery email, it's just a footer that you can put at the bottom of the emails if you do offer any digital files. And then overriding the portal address for spam is available here as well. So I'm going to click save, and I created a group. Now, if you want to go and create more groups, then the way to do that is just to hit this little curvy return arrow. And then you could just keep adding. And I don't imagine that you'll probably have a whole lot of groups. Like you might just have 2 or 3 at the very most. But this is where you would continue to add. Or if you kind of forgot that little curvy return arrow thing, then again, just another way to navigate, or how we got into that in the first place, was portal users and then straight to groups. And that would allow you to add groups as well. So the next thing that we'll think about in terms of just like what we're focused on in this moment is users. And this is where you would create users, and you do have to have groups created first, because every user belongs to a group and has to belong to a group. And you can add users all at the same time. So what I'm going to show you today is how to go in manually to add a user. But then what we'll do later this week is I'll show you how you could go in and do that through bulk operations. And what bulk operations does is it just uses Excel spreadsheets so that you can take all, I don't know how many users you have, but let's imagine like 200. You could take all 200 in a spreadsheet, upload the spreadsheet, and that action is done instead of having to come here and click add 200 times.
Is this what I have to do this even though we're doing self-registration?
No, actually you don't have to do this. If you're doing self-registration, then this spreadsheet will populate itself as people add themselves to the portal. So that will be just fine. But I'll show you how to add one if you ever get a random request. It's pretty straightforward. I'll add you. So your user ID will be Danielle. Danielle portal user. Then whatever their email is, I should put mine because I don't want you to get any of these emails. You're like, well, what's going on with that? And then you can create a password. And again, that's if this is done this way, but if they're doing it themselves, then during that self-registration process, they are establishing their password. But for me and you, for training this week, we've got to have at least a user for some of the stuff I'll show you tomorrow. Then the user, I'm imagining you're allowing everybody to pick their group themselves. So there would only be, the main group. They would have an idea that they're supposed to be there. And then the user type for everybody in your system is going to be purchaser. And what that means is that they order with no approval. And so that's the basic user type. Requisitioner would mean they have to get approval. That was the example of like the bank teller. And then senior purchaser, the only use case for that is if you're going to have, remember how we had talked about those special educational products and how if you were going to set like a gatekeeping to that product, then the gatekeep would be that somebody that's a senior purchaser would have to approve that. But all yours are purchasers. And then we'll go to save, because it's again back to that pivot process of you have to save on the first pivot. And then login. This just shows you the last time they ever logged in. So you would always have access to find that information out if you ever needed it. And then everything else here, you probably wouldn't be messing with, because this is just forcing the reset on the next login. So the password that I just established, like welcome123, this would force them to change that if I clicked yes here and make them set their own password. Order and payment. So this is the one thing that I will definitely tell you. I'm not sure how the cost centers are working for your users. I know how you want them to work, but they're not going to be picking their own. So as they self-register, somehow you'll need to come in here and change this, because this is going to need to be search cost centers, and it's going to be match cost centers exact number. That's the one that you're going to want. So I'm not sure, have you had anybody, do you know how you're handling this? Are they picking their own
I don't
cost center?
think that, they're just inputting their own cost center, and it has to be a 13-digit number, but I don't think we're going to have every single cost center in the background, right.
Aha, okay. So then I'm wondering what we can do here. We don't need select and modify with default. We don't need select only. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud here. Select only with default. Search cost centers and modify. I still think this is going to be the one that we're going to pick, but it just won't validate it which is fine, but at least they're putting it in. So you're still getting the input of them putting it in. I'm going to follow up on that with Tammy though. They just need a way to just direct input a cost center number, but there is no validation. Okay, so we'll put some thought into that. I know there's several ways we can do it. We can also put it into the product type, just an open field where they have to put it in at the product level as well. And then administration, this is just if this user is going to be able to do any administration for the company, which wouldn't make sense in your case. And then generic fields, this is sometimes where we have information regarding any third-party plugins, like we're integrating with like another software where we need to capture some other value. Yeah, and I don't think we're going to have that for the cost centers either. That won't work for the cost center, so we'll click save. So that's how to create a user.
I don't think I'm going to be creating any users anyways.
I don't think you will either. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I needed at least one user for us to test things in the portal for later this week. So now we've at least got that established.
Yeah.
So for shipping, let's talk about that. So at the account settings level, this is the other section that I wanted to cover with us today. This is where you as the user under like of these tiles live. And so obviously a front end user is going to be totally different than you, who is an administrative level user. So a front end user would never see these orange or blue tiles, but you will, and also Roxanne will, and possibly there's other employees at your company, I'm not sure, that will be dabbling here on the back end of this system. Mm-hmm. So in the account settings level, this is where you would live as a user. And so if I click here under users, you know, I'm in my own thing right now. I'm not in your true, like your live Symantec stuff. So it's just me. This is my, even though my name's Tristan, this is my fake user here, Charlotte Blue. And the permissions are set here. So this is where you will live. If you ever need to edit your information, then you could just click on yourself and do that. And as you can imagine, it's not something you're coming in to do like really ever again. Like you're set up once as a user on the back end. And, you know, if your email address ever changes or whatever, you can come here and change that. But I just wanted you to know where to set people up if you hire somebody on down the line that needs to be set up as a user, that they get added here. And so do you feel like you understand the difference between you as a user and the front end user?
Yeah, a quick question.
Sure.
So is this where I could go in, let's say someone forgot their password. Is this where I could manually go in and then find their ID and then reset their password?
No, this is not where you can do that. You will want to allow them to probably reset their own password. Am I correct on that? Or do you want to have to gatekeep that?
No, we have another part of our account that we would have to manually go in and update their passwords. So as long as they're able to reset their password themselves, then that's great.
Yeah, so under the user, so remember, this is you as a front end user. There's a few other things up here also. This is them. And so if I click on users, I think it was on the second pivot and I might have just like moved right past it and not said anything. So let's make sure we know exactly where that is. And so here, last activity date, reset it. I think it's just automatic because it's not, you don't want to, you know, this is just forcing them to reset it. But this is the email that it will go to, is whatever they input for themselves. So if they're not getting that reset email, then it might be your job, Danielle, to come in here and say, what's your email? And making sure.
Hold on 1 second.
I'm in training right now. Do you want to come back at 11:30? I'm in training right now. It's a 2-hour training, so I'll contact Jason. I saw he emailed me, but I'm in the middle. He knows I don't know if he emailed me, but I'll get in touch with you guys.
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It never stops, does it? That's the one benefit to coming to San Diego is that nobody can come into your office.
I know. Put a sign up or close the door or something.
I know, right? I totally get it. Well, we even have people in San Diego that will be logged in on their laptops during training, and people are Skyping them, and it's like, I've got a class of like 10 people. It's that I can't stop so that you can get back with your boss.
Right.
But yeah, so if you ever needed to, if they weren't getting that email, like maybe they checked their email off by a digit, you could always come and find them as a user here and edit the email so that they could reset their own, but they can all reset their own password. And by the way, all of these fields in Marcom and our software are filterable. So if you can find out like their user ID or their name, like let's say you have 200 here, you can filter and just pop in something in each one of these fields. Like if you knew their email, whatever, you could just find them more quickly that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, so that's them as the front end users, but remember this is you as the executive level user. Don't worry about roles. You guys don't have a need for that, so I'm not going to cover that with you because that's really more for like a massive print shop with tons and tons and tons of back end users. And how many back end users do you think you guys are going to have? It's you and Roxanne and anybody else?
Me, Roxanne, and possibly one other person, Ryan.
Okay.
Maybe my counterpart, Jason. No more than 5.
Yeah, okay. So there's no point in having roles. Roles would allow you to set the same settings for like 15 people, and there's not even 15 of you.
No.
Email notifications. This is definitely something I'm going to recommend for you guys at the onset of things. And what this does is it allows you to get an email literally any time an order is placed. But there's one other notification type that is a self-registration notification type. And so I definitely want to, I think initially, you may want to get an email every time somebody registers themselves into like, maybe it's not your work inbox, like your personal work inbox, but maybe it's like some general inbox that receives all the Marcom emails. But it will email you anytime an order is placed, or it will email you anytime somebody registers themselves to use the portal. What do you think about that?
Can I turn off that every time someone registers, but can I change the email? Because it currently has my personal email box for every time someone places an order, and I want it to go into the copy center, a different email, the generic email that I use, not my personal, because that's confidential stuff. So if someone's covering me, they won't even check that box.
Right, yeah, there would be zero coverage. I get that. So you can put in more than one too, by the way. If you wanted it to go to yours and somebody else's, you could do that. But when you go into your live Symantec site, it doesn't matter if you're under your training portal or your live portal, because this is where everything is the same. And so you would go to email notifications and then come here, and whatever we have established, you can click on either one of these. Whatever we already have established there, you can change it so that it goes to more than one email. You can edit the email, but that can just be done right here. And there's several different types here. So you may see supplier, you may see account owner, you may see self-registration. Supplier and account owner are almost exactly the same thing. But the reason that those things were established is because a lot of times we'll have a company have a different print vendor. Like you guys are kind of all in-house. But sometimes we'll have a company have a totally different vendor. And so they want to be able to send certain emails to their vendor. They want to receive certain emails for themselves. And so they establish, a supplier and account owner. But you guys are all like really one and the same. You are the supplier and you are the account owner in your case. So you could just set up one of these. And then self-registration again is here, and that would be, a third type. So what you're doing here, I've already got these two established, but if you want to add an additional to be for the self-registration, you would simply click add and then come here and say, and again, I don't know if you want this email anyways, I'm just showing you how to set it up, self-registration, then pop in whatever email address. And then you would probably leave it set to all portals, but you could also change it to your live portal. But all portals would be like, it would include your training portal as well.
Okay.
And if you get annoyed with any of them and you're getting too many emails and you don't like it, then feel free to come in here to any of the emails click on the orange bar, and just where it says active, uncheck active, and that will just sort of make it dormant so that you can reactivate it in the future if you want to. And you'll see that same thing in our interface just about everywhere. We don't allow you to delete things, obviously, because we want to kind of cover ourselves and you. So what we do instead is just make things inactive. So if you ever wanted to find your inactive stuff, you could just find it here, or you could look at all or just active. And so I typically have mine just set to what's active. Transaction numbering is something that we'll definitely probably establish for you guys. And what transaction numbering does is it numbers, let me go back to my main interface because this will make a little more sense. It numbers everything that lands in these blue tiles, which is your job ticketing, packing slips, and invoices. So whatever you want the job ticket numbers to start with and what you want them to increase by, that's going to set up a numbering process. You guys probably have something in mind of like what you would want to start the numbers at. But when an order is placed, like for letterhead, it's going to get automatically an order number, and then it's also going to need a job ticket number, possibly a packing slip number and invoice number, depending on like how you handle your billing. So this is where you establish what you want those numbers to be, where you want them to start, where you want them to, how long you want them to be. All of that is established here.
Okay.
And so I've got a few already set up, but I'm going to make sure that my portals are set. So like, I'm going to change this from all portals, and I'm just going to do this for my Symantec. And then you can see, like, I set it to be automatic, and then I came up and started it with 103, and I increment it by 1, and I put the word test in front of it. So it's just whatever you want there.
Okay.
And I'm going to change each one of these to Symantec so that when we play around with this stuff on Friday, that will all kind of make sense. And do this one as well. So now when I'm ready to show you that stuff on Friday, I won't have to go in and like decide at that moment what I want my job ticket number to be. It will just automatically apply a job ticket number to my order once it's placed. And I'm certainly going to explain a lot more of this stuff on Friday.
Okay.
So the last thing is shipping setup. And so this is where you can incorporate shipping. And so your first job would be to set up some type of shipping to be available. And so up here is where you set that up, and then you activate it at the individual portal level, which in your case, you know, you're really just going to have the same stuff set up here that you're planning on using at the portal level. So there's these things that say custom, and there's these things that say carrier in the shipping setup. So let me just explain the difference. Custom would just be like flat rate shipping. And so that's where we don't care about the weight. We don't care about any of the dimensions of the product or any of that. We're just saying, we just want to charge $8, which doesn't sound like that's the workflow that you guys are going to be using. You guys are probably going to be incorporating carrier shipping. And with carrier shipping,
does the custom shipping, can I just input my own? Because I don't care about the weight and I don't care about the size. I don't care about any of that. That's not, neither does my customer. So does the custom shipping, does that just give the drop down like inner office or
it would.
One day?
Yeah, you can definitely do that. So just here's the thing is that if you go with custom shipping, our system is not going to help calculate the cost at all, which might be okay because like your back end is doing that anyways.
Yeah,
but
I'm
here's the other kicker
from them.
You can't charge back for the cost of the shipment. Ah, okay,
it's
good.
Strictly shipping and receiving were totally separate. So any charges isn't out of us. So yeah.
Okay. This all makes lots of sense to me now. I don't know why earlier, not that it didn't make sense to me earlier, but now I can like feel confident in how you need to do it. So you're going to set up custom methods here. And your custom methods are going to be, you know, you tell me like inner office, you could have a custom method for 2-day. You could have a custom method for flat with ground. Are those all kind of the examples that you're thinking you'll use?
Yeah, I'm just going to use, yeah. So now that I see this, I could input that myself, right? I just go to add and then input that.
Yep,
okay.
Exactly. So you're going to add, again, just to be clear, you're going to add custom shipping methods here. However, what you're going to do is where I've put in a price, you're going to say it's free. So all your shipping is going to be free, right? Because then what's going to happen is they pick an option of ground. And then when this gets passed over, when they've ordered and they're finished ordering the item, when it gets passed over into these distribution tiles, then I guess your print shop is the easiest way for me to call that department. But that department's then going to figure out what the true cost is, and they're going to bill to whatever cost center your user chose the shipping to them. Right?
Is there a way that we could, can we go back to that shipping cost? Do I have to put any, because it's not free, but it's not charged through us. It's their shipment's going to be charged out of the shipping department. So
you do still have to put a numeric value. You just won't know what it is. That's why I'm saying free. It's like,
is there any way, so we can't, it has to be numbers and they're not.
Yeah,
or
not
can we edit the shipping cost verbiage and say cost center number here, or?
Oh, so say like change that prompt or whatever. No, I mean, here's what I'm thinking. We need to, you'll just mention this to Tammy. I'm sure it's something that we can help you establish. It just might require overriding certain things, but I'm sure that we can come up with a workaround that will solve your problem. However, it's probably not going to be here. I still think that there's value in having the shipping method name be whatever you want it to be. But let's talk to Tammy about a way to make it so that we have a workaround for cost center and not have the price of zero show, because we do want to let them know that we're charging. It's just the calculation's not going to be here. Charge back to cost center or something is kind of what you're thinking.
Yeah, maybe somewhere in the cart, like where they input the shipping, their cost center number there. Maybe there's like a custom area that we could kind of put the verbiage, shipping gets charged to your cost center, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at I'll have to look at it and see. But yeah.
It's okay. I've got that noted here. And so what I'll do when I'm done with our call today is I'll follow up and I'll copy you on the email as well. That way it's at least a reminder for you when you talk to Tammy later this week to bring that up so that she can start thinking about some workarounds for that as well. I'm confident that we can come up with something that works for you. But we would probably have to put some thought into how to do that.
Okay. Sounds good.
So you, though, at least now know this is where the names of said shipping choices are going to come up. So again, just kind of coming back. I always kind of come back to the home house because I know that's a little more comfortable for reminding you visually from the visual cue standpoint how to get places. So this is where we were, shipping setup and then custom shipping methods. And so if you wanted to establish these today, if you're playing around, that's fine. Feel free to go for it. Do put in 0 for now, knowing that we can change or edit anything down the line if we need to. So you can set those up here and nothing will be live until you actually activate it for that portal. So like here, under shipping and checkout, I'm going to go to custom shipping. And so this is where I take what was set up here and actually turn it on for this portal. So as long as you never do this step until you talk to Tammy about the best way to do it, then that step won't be live at all. But I'm just gonna do this for us for later this week so that we have some shipping kind of going in the system. So I'm activating just the free shipping and making it also my portal level default. And it's not taking this little checkbox. Uncheck it here. Okay. Oh, and then that unchecked. Okay. So that's kind of what I wanted to cover with you today. We're not really going to talk about credit card or tax setup. Tammy, if anything, would do that for you, but you're not really offering people credit card payments and you're not charging taxes because you're absorbing the cost for everything. So for now, that kind of covers the account setting. So what we'll do tomorrow is we'll reconvene and we'll talk about product setup. And so that will be our focus tomorrow, is just how to build products so that you can establish some of those. And then we'll go in and kind of put some of those products in a folder and actually test ordering some of that stuff so you can kind of really see that process from beginning through end. So tomorrow, what time? I'm free starting at about, I should go like 11:15 or on, and I don't want to like crash on your lunch break either, so I can also do like afternoon. It's just whatever works for you.
Either one. I don't really take a lunch or a designated lunch time. I go whenever I'm hungry or, which is more later in the day. So it's totally up to you. I don't want to crash on your lunch hour either. So.
Oh, I'm working from home tomorrow, so again, I'm super flexible. Why don't we do 11:30, and we'll take time to do. We'll block out 11:30 to 1:30, and then if we finish early, kind of like we are today, then we'll have that extra time as a gift back. So what I'm going to do is follow up on our call today with an email, and I am going to send you this daily exercise PDF, just so if you want to go in and try to create a couple users and a couple groups on your own, you can. But again, it's up to you what's going to be a benefit. What I am going to do now, though, is while we're on the call, I'm going to create your training portal, make sure you know your login information. So I'm just logging in now as an employee. So this is going to look a little bit different because I'm logged in kind of as like a super admin for Marcom right now.
Okay.
And I just want to find you guys. I think, is your account name just Symantec, as far as you know?
Yes.
Here you are. So I'm going to create a portal called Danielle Training. And I'm just going to pop in our address because it really doesn't matter here. Okay, so this is your training portal. So this is kind of where you can go in and create those users and those groups. And remember, it was just on that portal users tile that we did that. And then in terms of your user, I'm just going to make sure that you're all established for that. So I won't know your password, but I do see, that's you, right, Danielle? So your user login is admin_holiday, is it holiday?
Yeah.
And then if you need to reset your password for whatever reason, it's going to come to this email address. So are you all square with that? All right. And I'm just making sure you have permissions to do all this stuff. Eyeballing that really quick. Good. And okay, great. So you're all set to try that out. So I'll follow up in an email in about the next hour or so. And then what I'll do later today is to send you the recorded version of this webinar as well.
Okay. Sounds
Thoughts
good.
or questions for me for today, or are we okay?
I think I'm good right now.
Okay,
So
sounds good.
Tomorrow, 11:30 tomorrow.
Yep. And I'll send you a meeting invite for that as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Danielle. Talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Have a good evening or good day.
Okay, bye.